Hey everyone, welcome back to the Union Pacific Railroad Evanston Subdivision, the N-scale inspired HO layout that continues to be built right here in my basement. My name is Daryl Kruse, owner, builder, and operator of the layout, and your host for episode 25 of season 2022. We are halfway through the year, and I've done 25 episodes, counting this one, and hoping to do another 25 between now and the end of this year. This video is an operations video on ops taking place at Holcim Cement. We're going to be taking a local train headed up by two SD40Ns, and they are going to be running from Evanston to Ogden with a stop at Wholesome Cement for some switching operations. So we begin here at the Evanston yard, where the train will be assembled, and then we'll depart with a couple of locomotives, and they will run all the way to Ogden, but on the way they will stop at Wholesome Cement and drop off some cars, pick up some cars, and then also do some movement of cars from the siding to the loading and unloading spur. So right there at that turnout is where the train would go from the yard onto the main line. We don't have the yard built yet, so we're just going to go from the main line heading west to Ogden. This is a local train, and as I said, they're headed up by a couple of SD70Ns. Got these from Athern. They were the ready-to-run variety, but I like them quite a bit. And this train is a manifest train with a lot of different types of cars: covered hoppers, tank cars, flat cars, and of course some cement cars that will be swapped out at Wholesome Cement. Heading west out of Evanston, one of the first areas that we come to is the UTLX repair facility, which will be located right there on the piece of plywood there. And there's going to be a 3-track yard and probably 2 or 3 spurs for tracks where the tank cars will be repaired at UTLX. So there's going to be like a drill track that's going to extend to the left there. But we are coming then on Wasatch, where we're meeting a eastbound coal train at the Wasatch Summit. This railroad is going to be a combination of cross-country trains operating, as well as a good deal of local switching operations. It's a double-track main line that goes from Green River all the way to Ogden and the Riverdale Yard. And on the layout, it comes out to about 400 feet of main line. About 280 on the lower level, and then about 150 plus on the upper level. And then there's another, I don't know how many feet on the helix. I think altogether, helix, staging yard, upper level, lower levels, close to 600 feet total mainline run. Of course, I don't have it all done yet. Working towards getting that done. But will be a lot of running trains back and forth, and the dispatcher will be busy making sure the trains are operating around any operating trains that are stopped on the main line, or any maintenance that's being done on the main line, or any other things. They'll have to maneuver trains around that. So that will be a big part of the operations, is mainline train running on a double track, fully signaled main line. The other operation operational aspect will be local switching at 4 main locations. You have the UTLX yard, which I explained here a bit, which will have a lot of switching operations. There will be the Holcim Cement facility, which we're going to see a good deal of what will take place there and the type of operations. There also will be a Trona mining plant on the upper level. That will also have a 2-track siding plus 2 or 3 spurs for loading and unloading soda ash at the Trona plant. And then, of course, there will be the Evanston yard, which will be a yard that can handle about 150 cars. It will have 1 track for arrivals and departures, 5 tracks for classifications, and then an additional track for bypass from one end of the yard to the other. And there will also be a car shops there, and of course some engine refueling and sanding facilities. So there will be a lot of different varieties of operations. Here our local is continuing to head west from the Wasatch Summit. It's heading downgrade now. As you can see, it just went into idle and it's turning on its dynamic brakes as it heads down the 1.7% decline down the Wasatch grade. As it continues down the grade, it's going to have to stop before it gets to the Emery control point. This train will need to cross over to the right-hand main because the siding and Wholesome Cement is on the right-hand side. So before it's able to do that, it's going to have to come to a stop here at Castle Rock, just east of the Emery control point. It comes to a stop just before the road crossing there. So here it is, just short of the Emery control point. You can see the signals there, and then there will be a crossing here. So it's going to need to cross over from the left-hand main to the right-hand main because that's where the Wholesome Cement operations are. But it's not able to do that just yet because there is a oncoming train heading in the opposite direction. This segment of the railroad from Kerrville to Ogden is left-hand running. From Kerrville eastward, it's right-hand running. Looks like it's a crude oil tank train, headed up by a couple of scale train locomotives. The first one is a Tier 4 GEVO. Second one is a straight GEVO for Kansas City Southern. The operator forgot to blow its whistle right there, so he'll have to get a demerit. Luckily, there was no fatalities. We skipped a few cars there, since all these are pretty much the same kind of cars, scale trains, crude oil tank cars with buffer cars before and after. And we'll go ahead and wait for the signal and then head on out and cross over from the left-hand main to the right-hand main. And we are blowing the whistle this time. All right, so it will be taking this crossover here to get to the right-hand main. And then I'll be able to do it switching at Holcim Cement. Here the local is going through Echo Canyon and coming up on a crossing at the small community of Echo. It's very small but also quite historic, and the building of the Union Pacific as part of the Continental Railroad, built in the late 1860s. As you can see, I did put together another building there at Wholesome Cement. I was kind of caught by surprise by how large HO buildings are. Looks pretty cool, the size of it, especially compared to the size of the cars. I believe here it's going to be the Medusa cement kit there will do most of the loading and unloading of the railroad cars, and then the larger building will be a part of loading and unloading truck traffic. So just to the right of those buildings will be a loading and unloading truck facility. I did do some work as we take a little bit of break here in operations. I did paint the floor, as you can see. And then also kind of stabilize this peninsula a little bit, or this part of the layout. As you can see, I would kind of bump into it and was kind of wobbly, so I put in a brace here between the staging yard and this end of Evanston Yard, and made sure it was level also. That was also kind of an issue with it being so narrow. And now it's definitely much more stable when I bump into it. It was really bad when I had some auto racks there, but all better now. I am going to get some skirting to put in there to help it look even more finished. And hopefully we'll have that this week. All right, back to operations at Wholesome Cement. So we came to a stop at the Devil's Slide control point here. And we uncoupled our train right in front of 3 Wholesome Cement cars, or right behind, I should say. And the first thing we're going to do is get the cars from the siding and add them to our train. There's 3 main things that are going to take place here. One is adding the cars from the siding to our train, and the cars in the siding were put there because they are fully loaded and ready to go. So we're going to move those from the siding to our train. Second thing we're going to do is pick up the cars that are at the loading facility and move them to the siding. They are destined for a train heading in the opposite direction. But this train will go ahead and do some switching and moving the cars from the loading facility to the siding to be picked up later by another train heading in the other direction. And then the third thing is to take the three cars from this train and place them at the loading facility so that they can be loaded for future transport. We're going ahead and picking up these three cars, and we'll be placing them in our train. All these cement cars are Walthers cement cars. I really need to get some more. I think I have 12 altogether. I probably will need another 12. I was tempted to pick up some American models cement cars that look beautiful, but they're very expensive. So I think I'm going to just hold off and wait till some more Walthers come out. These are like $23 a piece, $22 a piece, and they're very, very nice looking. Now that I've sold all my N-scale stuff, I have to kind of be much more careful and spending money on the layout and buying equipment. Have to be a little bit more frugal. Of course, you can always help with that by subscribing to the channel, liking this video, commenting, and then also becoming a member of the channel or helping me at my Patreon site. Links to all those are in the description, as well as a link to the track plan. Some people asked about getting a track plan so they can follow along where the trains are on the layout. So I did post a URL for a pretty good JPEG of the layout, both upper and lower levels. So you might want to check all those things out. All right, we went ahead and picked up the cars from the siding, added them to our train, and we have to take a break here now, get clear of the control point, since we have a train that's coming in the other direction. This is what I was talking about when I said that the dispatcher has to route trains, the mainline traffic, around locally operating trains, as well as track maintenance and other obstacles. So here we're occupying one of the mains, so we are forcing this train to kind of go around our train. It's going from left-hand running to the right-hand side. When it gets to the next control point, before it goes up the Wasatch grade, it'll cross back over to the left-hand side and the modern main line for the journey up the Wasatch grade. But here you can see it's taking the number 10 turnouts, crossovers from the left-hand side to the right-hand side for its direction. This is a manifest train. The train has a little bit of everything. And we should see a DPU at the end. Right, with that train passed, now we kind of wait for the turnouts to be thrown and getting a signal to go across, and we do have a yellow signal, so we can go ahead and go across the control point and continue with our switching operations at Holcim Cement. So we have moved the cars from the siding, the loaded cars from the siding to our train. Next step will be to get the loaded cars from the loading track and move it to the siding for the next train. You can see I threw two turnouts there. One is a turnout to go into the siding. The second one is the turnout to go from the siding to the loading spur. This is a very interesting point on the prototype. Spent a lot of time when I was there last summer in this area. Took some great pictures of the area. There is a long spur like this that goes along the main line, and the main line as well as the spur both cross the Weber River here right at this point. So both of them cross the Weber River. Here you can see a picture of the bridge. This is the spur bridge that crosses the Weber River. And then here you get a good picture of both bridges plus the road, which also goes across. So it's definitely a very interesting area. You have all the different levels. Here you can see our brakeman making sure the cars are coupled. But it's a pretty cool area. The Weber River goes underneath everything, and then you have the road crosses the Weber River just above the water line. Probably not more than 8 feet above, and then you have the spur and the main lines both cross the roads as well as the Weber River. Definitely looking forward to getting this all scenic and getting the bridge ends. It's going to be a pretty cool area. Right now though, we are picking up these 3 loaded cars and we'll be setting them on the siding. This siding can hold up to 6 cement cars. Right now I'm only doing 3 since I don't have that many cement cars. Here I'm trying to pick the coupler, but decided to just do the full hand operation. Haven't yet looked into getting uncoupling picks for HO scale. Alright, so those cars, the loaded cars there, are set on the siding, and we have our last step, which is to take the cars from our train, which are empty, and moving them to the loading track. Now there will be even more operations than this. I am going to have an additional turnout just after the spur crosses the river. There's going to be a turnout, and there will be not only the loading track, but then there will also be a storage track. So there will be a lot of moving cars back and forth between the siding, the loading track, and the storage track in anticipation of different trains coming through. There will be 2 trains each op session that will be stopping at Holcim Cement. We'll have this local here that not only will drop off and pick up cars, but then we'll also be doing some switching moves. And then there will be a second train that's going to be going in the other direction. And it will be just simply dropping off and picking up cars from the siding. I did do some work here during the week. I had to do some wiring. There was no power connected to the siding yet, so I did that. The turnout that the reefers are going over right now, the turnout from the siding to the spur, had to add a turnout motor to that and get that wired up. And then just the track going down the spur was not installed at all, so I did install that with rail joiners and everything. Was thinking about adding another turnout that will be there eventually, but decided to run trains instead. I think you get a good idea from this exactly on the type of operations that will take place here. You will have somewhat of the same type of thing at the UTLX repair facility just outside of Evanston, and then also the Trona soda ash mine at West Vaco. That will be on the upper level. Both of those will be similar to this, but more extensive. The UTLX repair facility will have a 3-track yard, and then some spur tracks for loading, not loading, but for repair of the UTLX cars. And the Trona soda ash plant will have a 2-track siding, and then 2 or 3 spurs for loading the Trona soda ash onto covered hoppers. So same type of operation at those 2 places, but probably a little bit even more extensive. I may have dedicated switchers for those 2. We'll just kind of see how things go. All right, so we're done with our work here at the Wholesome Cement, and we're ready to go ahead and continue our journey to Ogden. However, our dispatcher is making us wait here as we have a double stack and auto rack train that's coming through, and it is again going around our train. I should take that back. This is actually left-hand running at this point, so it's on the correct track. But the dispatcher wants to put us also on the left-hand side, so before we can depart and cross over, he's letting this more important train go through first, and we have to wait. These are scale trains, auto rack cars. I think there's a couple of Intermountains in there. And take a little bit better angle here to see some of the great detail on these scale trains cars. These are very well detailed cars. Only drawback is the couplers, which I'm going to eventually replace. But as you can see, they're highly detailed, and they track pretty well for auto racks. As we see the DPU go by. Now we not only have to wait for this to clear the control point, but we also have to wait for it to completely clear the block, because we're going to be going into the same track that it's on right now. So this would be a little bit of a wait. All right, so I don't know how many minutes, maybe 15 minutes or so has gone by, and we're still waiting for a signal. Everything's red, and it looks like we did just get a yellow signal for the diverging. You can't really see the light, but you can see it reflecting off of the hood, I should say. So we do have a yellow. And it has knocked down to red. And we're going to cross over to the left hand and continue on to our final destination of the Riverdale Yard in Ogden. Here it just went past the Devil's Slide, going across the Weber River and into the Taggart Tunnels. And we crossed the Weber River once again. And we're heading towards Morgan, which will be there in the corner. As you can see, we don't have the second level here yet. Going to be working on that in the coming weeks. Might want to take a look at my work schedule here. I did get a week behind. I didn't do much work this last week, so I had to push everything back a week. But I'm still on track to be done in October. I think by the 1st of October, if not, definitely by Halloween. And of course, we'll be doing updates every week as we go along. So right now it is going through Morgan. On the second level, the Aspen Tunnels will be right there in the corner. And then from Morgan, we head on into the staging yard, which represents Ogden and the Riverdale Yard. Which is the end of our run. Really appreciate you taking some time to watch this video. Again, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the video, comment. I try to respond to all comments. Become a member, that would be much appreciated. Support me at Patreon. Anything you can do is much appreciated. And definitely appreciate you taking time to watch this. I hope it's something that you've enjoyed, and I hope you continue to watch as the railroad progresses in the weeks, months, and years to come. Have a great week, everybody. Take care till next week.